Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Before we start some of the news for today, I want to make a couple of announcements. Wednesday, November 7th, 9 p.m. Eastern, the last conference call called Conversations with Dr. Tam of the year. It's that time of year when we start to wind things down. Kind of unfortunately, I missed this when we stopped doing it until next year. But anyway, we're going to give the men equal time. We're going to talk about PSA testing. We've done so much material on mammography for women. It's time to talk about prostate health and how to avoid prostate cancer and why PSA testing is not a good idea and some of the adverse consequences of PSA testing. And then on Monday, November 12th, the last Conversations with Chef Del for the year, and he's going to talk about Happy Healthy Holiday. I can tell you from personal experience, Del makes some of the most amazing and healthy holiday meals. I bring some of these dishes with me to parties and gatherings, and even the carnivores in the group scarf down this food. They can't believe how good it is. So with that, let's go on to some news, and the stuff I'm going to share with you today is going to shock you. Every time I think I get to the place where I can't be shocked, I find out that I am indeed wrong, and there is a new low that the healthcare profession can reach. So I'll just start by saying one thing that the drug companies can count on. The sales force they've recruited, which is comprised of a large percentage of America's physicians, will constantly think of new and creative ways to sell their products. And the latest and most disturbing thing I've read is that doctors are starting to give Adderall and other drugs used to treat ADHD to kids who don't have it in order to improve their academic performance. I read a New York Times article on the topic and did a little research and found out that this is fortunately still rather unusual, but gaining some traction in the profession. And the New York Times article featured a Dr. Michael Anderson, a doc in Georgia, who stated that he diagnoses children with ADD even though they don't have it, so he can give them drugs. He says that the schools are inadequate and, quote, I don't have a lot of choice. We've decided as a society that it's too expensive to modify the kid's environment, so we have to modify the kid. I find that statement shocking and horrifying. Now, for years, there have been stories of wealthy parents who have sourced out these types of drugs to help their kids perform better in school so that they can get into better colleges and universities. But now the practice is spreading to people at the low end of the economic spectrum. And I guess we have to give the medical profession credit for spreading their awful practices. It's their equal opportunity. People at all ends of the economic spectrum get to participate in this stuff. The Times quoted one doctor, a child mental health researcher, who said, quote, we're effectively forcing local community psychiatrists to use the only tool at their disposal, which is psychotropic medications. Now my comment on this is that if the only tool at these psychiatrists' disposal is psychotropic medications, they should right now mail their license back to the state medical board and get out of the profession. If that's the only thing and the best thing you have to offer to a child who's having difficulty in school, you shouldn't be in practice. Strong statements, I know, but I'm kind of known for that. But in any case, I think it's criminal, and I've always been fascinated at how criminals justify the things they do. And I'm also fascinated with the arrogance of people who engage in these activities. From my standpoint, it's hard to believe, for me, that Dr. Anderson actually allowed himself to be interviewed by the New York Times, and the things that he chose to share are surprising too. He proudly states that he thinks of himself as a social justice thinker. Are you kidding me? Who is evening the scales a little bit. He thinks drugging children is reliable and a pragmatic way to help those kids become more successful. He says, quote, people who are getting A's and B's, I won't give it to them. It's great to know he has some ethics, isn't it? One of his enthusiastic supporters who was interviewed by the Times is a mom with 3 children, all of whom are drugged by Dr. Anderson. Jacqueline Williams says, my kids don't want to take it, but I told them, these are your grades when you're taking it, this is when you don't, and they understood. And she was very grateful, by the way, she told the Times reporter that Medicaid covers all of her doctor and medication costs. Isn't it great to see our taxpayers' dollars working so effectively? Another enthusiastic, drugged-up family under Dr. Anderson's care reports that their 12 and 9-year-olds take Adderall, and the younger 2 children take Risperdal, an antipsychotic drug. All 4 children have to take sleeping pills before bedtime in order to sleep at night. Even more shocking, the Risperdal was given to one of the kids who'd been originally placed on Adderall because the Adderall caused him to see imaginary people and hear voices, which is a rare but predictable side effect of Adderall. In other words, the original drug caused the kid to start to develop symptoms of schizophrenia, which then required treatment with a psychotropic drug. And the parents told the Times reporter that in spite of this, they've agreed to give Adderall to 2 of their children who didn't have ADHD to help with their grades. The father described one of his children as being a little blah. What the heck does that mean? And went on to say, if they're feeling positive, happy, socializing more, and it's helping them, why wouldn't you? Why not? Are you kidding me? I hate to keep saying that, but oh my gosh. Like sheep, physicians are quick to jump on the bandwagon to defend their colleagues. Dr. William Graff, a pediatrician in New Haven, says that parents should be able to choose to medicate their kids to improve academic performance if they want to. Now, he did express some concern about the authenticity of development in children who are drugged and said, quote, "These children are still in the developmental phase, and we still don't know how these drugs biologically affect the developing brain. There's an obligation for parents, doctors, and teachers to respect the authenticity issue, and I'm not sure that's always happening." But he supports the drugging of these kids. In other words, we really don't know what the effects are going to be, but why not drug them anyway? I'm sure there'll be a presentation about this, by the way, at the next meeting of the American Psychiatric Association, and with lots of enthusiastic endorsements from psychiatrists who are drugging their patients in order to help them get better grades. What I think makes this even more disturbing is the government's paying for a great deal of this. So we not only cover the expense of the drugs, but then we have to cover the expense of the problems the drugs cause, which include growth suppression, increased blood pressure, bipolar disease, and psychotic episodes. I talked about this when we were covering the Robert Whitaker book called Anatomy of an Epidemic. The drugs are scheduled as classified as Schedule II because they're very addictive, and studies show that children who take them have significant problems as adults. And of course, all of that is an economic and societal burden that we collectively deal with. I think the bigger issue is, however, why are children who are having trouble in school, why aren't we addressing the underlying problem, which is the quality of education? I don't want to get too much into a political discussion here, but our schools are in need of reform, and why are our politicians supporting unions and others who stand in the way of educational reform? We need to get rid of bad teachers, reward good teachers, and decide that every child is capable of learning if provided with the right teaching environment, the right teachers, and the right tools. And I really don't think drugging kids instead of addressing those issues is the answer. I'm outraged about this. I hope that you are too. So please pass this on to other people who you think should be aware of this information. And I guess this is one of the reasons, this is an example of why we've decided here at the Wellness Forum that it's extraordinarily important to address this issue with our programming. So Emotional Wellness 101 is a program designed to help people stay away from these drugs and get off of these drugs. And we're focusing more and more on that here because we think this is such an important public health issue. I'll be back again on Thursday.